Good morning, lovely people of the internet. Coffee. I apologize if I am kind of overexposed, but it's only today. Awesome. If you're new here, which you probably are because this is only my second video, and you would like to know more about me and what this is all about, then you can go and check out my first video, which I will put in a card here somewhere. Originally, my first project for this channel was going to be something different. But in a way, it is fitting that this is now my first project for this channel because it follows a tutorial from the person who inspired me to start sewing. This wonderful human being is Miss Bernadette Banner, and she recently uploaded a video making the so-called pirate shirt, which is an 18th century men's shirt. If you tell me poofy sleeves, I'm sold, first of all. But she also mentions that this is a really good beginner's project, which is good. The thing is, when she says beginners, I'm not sure if she means somebody with a little bit of sewing experience but not much, or somebody who has only ever sewn ballet skirts but left the hem raw. I have proof. Power mesh, hem raw. Who can be bothered with sewing machines? Those are the spawn of the devil, you know? Ballet skirts. Oh. So I will do my best to follow Bernadette's video. I will put the link to the video in a card here and also down below so you can go and watch it, because honestly her videos are everything, and also she probably explains this a lot better than I'm going to. So there's that. 100% cotton fabric, which is this one here. Two pre-washable fabrics, please. And I need more coffee. I've decided to use cotton thread, which dyes. Also, let's take a moment to appreciate that my measurements so far are exactly the same as Bernadette's.
Just saying.
Bernadette instructs us to mark the pieces on the fabric by this method called drawing threads, but I wasn't sure if that was something you could only do on linen or if it's something you can do on cotton, and it turns out I just tried it and it sort of works in cotton, so that saves me a little bit of a nightmare because I do not have a long ruler to mark things. I'm going to try to do that. It's a new day. I got a bit done last night and I'm ready to cut now. I've marked the pieces to be a little too big. So instead of leaving half an inch of seam allowance, I left an entire inch on each side. And the reason why I did this is because I was too scared of messing it up, which I did twice. So I'm really glad I left too much space. We'll do some cutting. See you in a minute. Woohoo! Okay, so these are all my pieces. This is the body piece, which is just the one. These are the sleeves. These are the collars. These are all the reinforcement patches. Those are the cuffs, and these are the gussets.
It's voiceover time! Here you can see me basting and then sewing the two collar pieces on both short edges and only one of the long edges. This is done with a backstitch on the wrong side of the fabric, not that the side matters in this case, so that the collar can be turned to the right side later.
Good morning. Another day.
Do the sleeves now! I'm about to show you the placement of the gusset, which should be attached to either side of the top of the sleeve on two consecutive sides. You can hopefully see what I mean by that. That's two sides that share a corner instead of, well, not really. Then the gusset is pinned in that position and the rest of the sleeve is also pinned shut. All of that is basted, and please let's take a moment to appreciate all of my pins in the wrong direction. Now, of course, I'm procrastinating by preparing the cuffs. They are first folded in half and then pinned, basted, and sewn only on the short edges. Again, it's sewn with a backstitch. Basically, everything in this shirt is sewn with a backstitch unless I say otherwise. Let's procrastinate some more by trimming the seam allowances on the collar to prepare it for turning. And turning both the collar and the cuff without trimming the corners, by the way, which was a mistake, but we'll live and learn, people. And moving on to pressing the turn pieces. Finally, I'm starting to stitch the sleeves. Here you can see me doing my best to pass from one side of the gusset to the sleeve's side seam without piercing the other side of the gusset, which should be stitched separately. And continuing until there is only a few inches left, which will become the slits above the cuffs. Now, cutting the extra seam allowance. You remember I told you that cutting the pieces too big was going to make me waste a lot of time. Here I'm cutting half of the remaining seam allowance so that I can finish the seam. I'm cutting across at the bottom of the shirt where the slits will be, because those will be finished separately. I'm cutting the same side of the seam allowance on the gusset side that continues towards the side seam and on the separate gusset piece. I did it like this because that's what Bernadette says in her video. However, I finished both seams towards the gusset when I attached the sleeve to the shoulder, and I like the result a lot better, so I wish I would have done that here too. Then I'm basting the seam allowances so they're ready to go. In the slit section, as you can see, the seam allowance is simply folded in half, and in the rest of the seams, the longer edge of the seam allowance is folded in half so that it encases the short edge of the seam allowance in the middle. Let's finish some seams! This is done by folding the basted seam allowance so that it hides the raw edges and sewing it using a whip stitch.
I am back with an update. I've been working on the second sleeve for the last couple of days. I have it here. Life hurts. Why? Oh, I hate having periods. Being a woman sucks so bad. I'm gonna stop recording now.
To prepare the reinforcement patches, I'm folding the 1-inch squares, roughly 1/8 of an inch inwards, and basting them in place, making sure to also fold one of the corners inward by a random amount that you think might work. The resulting shape should be similar to the one I'm showing you. Then, the patches are secured with a web stitch to the weak point between the side seam of the sleeve and the two slits. Glorious puffy sleeves mean dealing with gathers, unfortunately, which aren't the easiest thing for a complete beginner, let me tell you. Also, I should have run the gathering thread at the 1-inch mark, so now both my sleeves and my cuffs are too long. I told you leaving extra space at the beginning would cause problems. Don't be like me.
It's been a minute. I had a really busy week of work, so I couldn't touch my sewing at all. And then after that week came a weekend where I was so fed up with life and
Stuff.
that I spent 3 straight days reading books. I read 4. Yesterday I finished running the gathering threads on the sleeves The gusset doesn't have any gathering thread. More to come.
Okay, cuffs. The first thing is to pin the center of the cuff to the center of the sleeve, right sides facing each other. Then each side of the sleeve is pinned to the corresponding sides of the cuff. I also pinned them both to the same side temporarily because Bernadette told me to, but I don't think this step is strictly necessary. Next, the gathers are formed by pulling from the gathering thread until the length of the sleeve matches the length of the cuff. The gathers are pinned as evenly as possible, and I also decided to baste them in place to secure them further. The gather sleeve is sewn to the cuff using a backstitch. Finally, the remaining side of the cuff is folded over the raw edges and secured in place with web stitches. Here I'm marking the points where the sleeves and the side slits start at the top and bottom of the body piece respectively, so that I don't sew through them. Welcome to the time when I got fed up with filming and just wanted to get on with it. You can see that I didn't record sewing the side seam of the body piece, which was done with the back stitch as everything else. Here I'm putting the finished sleeve into the shoulder opening and pinning it in place. The process is now quite similar to that of the cuff. The sleeve is gathered, but not the gusset, which should stay flat and then sewn in place. The seams are finished in the same way as the others, as well as the slits at the sides of the body piece. And guess what? I don't have more footage of this process. Honestly, if you want a proper tutorial with measurements and stuff, you should go and watch Bernadette's video. Anyway, here's what the shoulder seam looks like at the end from the inside of the garment. Moving on to the next slit. Here's how it looks basted. And here's how it looks sewn. And with the reinforcement patch, of course. It's color time! We're getting there! The collar is folded in half to mark the center, and then each half is folded in half again to mark where it should attach to the center of the shoulder in the body piece. Here I'm trying to figure out how to attach the collar. I've pinned the center, the shoulders and the two edges, which means it's gathering time. And yes, I did not record any of the sewing, but here I'm showing you how the shoulder conundrum was solved. I basically kept the shoulder flat-ish and brought some of the gathers over in an angle. Hopefully you can see what I mean in the video, otherwise it'll probably make sense if you ever try it. Or if you know anything about sewing, really, unlike, well, me. The other side of the collar is finished in the same way as the cuffs, and that's it! It is done! Almost there, almost there. Buttons and buttonholes now. I've marked the buttonholes and I'm slashing them using my nail scissors, because they are the smallest and the sharpest I've got. The buttonhole is done with a regular buttonhole stitch.
The importance and significance of Vice President Kamala Harris.
I don't have footage of sewing the buttons, but you know, they're buttons! You sew them like buttons! And we've come to the last step. I'm finishing the bottom of the shirt by folding the hem once and basting it, then folding it again and sewing it with a whip stitch.
So that's it, my friends. We've got a shirt and it's the coolest thing ever. To be entirely honest with you guys, I still can't believe I made a thing. Coffee. Here's the finished product. I hope you enjoyed this video and got something out of seeing me struggle. Again, I would like to thank Bernadette for posting the original video. And if you ever see these, Bernadette, and you've been wondering all this time why there were hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of watch time in your Pirate Shred video coming from London, this is why. It's all me. It has a few mistakes that I would have done differently if I had started now, but I've learned from it. Seriously. I have a lot of projects in mind for this channel, but whatever I do will depend on my finances because some of my projects require expensive materials. If you would like to help me get there, you can contribute to my project in the donations tab in my website. The link to my website is below. You can make donations as big or small as you like, and there's also a text box in the donation form where you can make suggestions of what you would like to see me make. Also in my website you can find some high quality pictures of the different outfits that I styled with this shirt. You can also help me out by subscribing to this channel in the subscribe button link thingy below this video. Coffee break. And I hope to see you soon. Bye!